We humans have built some of the most wondrous constructions, from buildings to stadiums, statues, dams, and whatnot. Even the most accomplished human engineers with their big, fat degrees face a tough competition from one particular animal species. These animal engineers can build amazing dams, changing the course of river streams and flowing water. They can also build their own houses with separate dining space and living quarters. It may sound like fiction, but it's all true. Meet the North American beaver. These rodents can do what many of us can't. They can engineer dams. All of that without ever getting a costly college degree. Now that's what you call a genius. Before I get into how and why these beavers became such great builders, let me tell you a bit more about them. The North American beavers and the Eurasian beavers are two beaver species, walking on Earth with an engineer degree. But today, I'll talk about the North American kind. Well, Eurasian beavers are also great builders and architects, but talking about both of them will take a lot of time. You know, one video is not enough for such massive talent. When we are proud of our intellect and intelligence, these beavers are building great structures. What are you trying to build? The humans have something called an Eiffel Tower. I think I can build a better one. Well, it's true that these animals are master builders, but for them, it's more about survival and safety, rather than creating an architectural masterpiece to make others wonder. You see, beavers are the second largest animal in the rodent family after capybaras. Some of them can weigh in excess of 40 kilograms. However, their size doesn't really help when they face off against predators. Coyotes, bears, foxes, bobcats, and even some predatory birds like to enjoy beaver stew. I'm pretty sure they don't plan on becoming someone's dinner. They had to come up with a plan to protect themselves from these big bad predators. But how? Have you seen the beaver's eyes and ears? They are placed right on top of their heads. Beavers can take cover underwater when a dangerous animal is nearby. The rodents can then just perch their heads from under the water surface to check the situation. It's like a person looking outside through a small gap in between the curtains. The beavers can see what's happening, but the predators can't see them. Add to this the ability to hold their breath for up to 15 minutes at a stretch, and you'll understand how good beavers are at hiding from the attackers. Let's get one thing straight. The beavers aren't fighters, so hiding is the only option for them. The ability to remain underwater for long stretches helps them hide from their enemy. Moreover, their high-speed swimming also helps these large pond rats flee from their attackers. But beavers are also extremely social animals. So, when they spot a dangerous predator nearby, they don't just think about their own safety. They also warn the other beavers nearby to hide with their huge, flat, and leather-like tail. They slam their tail on the water's surface as a warning signal. But such defensive techniques alone don't save them from animal attacks. Running water and streams can never really provide the kind of security they desire. Sometimes, the waters are too shallow to hide from predators. So the beavers take matters into their own hands, or paws. They break down trees and rip branches off. Then, they carry the stuff to block off a section of the water. In total, these animals can move hundreds of kilograms containing mud, rocks, and wood to plug the water, creating much deeper pools to swim in. These beaver-made dams are generally a meter wide and can stretch on for several hundred meters in length. In fact, one such dam was picked by a satellite from space. At 800 meters, it is the longest known beaver dam on record. Well, that's just the longest one that human beings know of. There may be dams measuring several kilometers too. In fact, the urge to create dams and to live in stagnant water is so high among beavers that they practically hate running water. Researchers actually tested out this theory. They played a recording of running water and noted how it affected these rodents, even when they were in perfectly still water. The beavers heard the sound of running water and immediately began collecting branches and other debris to build a dam. But beavers don't just divert the flow of water. After their dam creates a safe enough environment, these animals focus on the really important stuff, building a sturdy lodge. A lodge is basically a home for beavers. While we hire people to build our home, every single member of the beaver family has knowledge of the business. So, everyone pitches in to construct their own home. When it comes to the lodge building, you'll see the beavers' understanding of physics and engineering. Standard lodges are generally built on the river bank, where it receives plenty of shade from nearby trees. But these are just 1 or 2 BHKs. If you want to see the beaver mansions, you should search for open water lodges. Not only are they more spacious, but the beavers actually designate a different dining and living area inside. And look at us. We have dining spaces too, and still we decide to eat on our couches and beds. Yet another example of how these beavers can outmatch us any day when it comes to organized living. But that isn't all. Perhaps the truest testament to how good these beavers are as builders is when you see their canals. The easiest way to explain a beaver-made canal is to think of it as a road. These water pathways connect different ponds and allow for easier movement and access to vegetation. So, you see just how tireless these animals can be? They don't just build their own residences, but also mold the environment around them. And doing this can have far-reaching consequences, not only for beavers, but all the wildlife in the region. If you think I'm giving these rodents undue credit, that's absolutely not the case. In fact, I'm just in awe of how these small animals can benefit and build an entire ecosystem. Think about it. Agricultural pollution arising from usage of pesticides is a huge problem in the US. Some of these chemicals are mixed with runoff water that feeds directly into the seas. But with beaver dams in place, a massive portion of the toxic chemicals get trapped. That's not all. Far from it. Because there's so much water in beaver ponds, some of it is absorbed into the ground itself. So if you really think about it, the beavers are actually responsible for refilling the aquifers. And what are we doing, being the most intelligent species on Earth? We are only depleting these sources of fresh water. Maybe we should start learning from these rodents. But beavers' contribution is far from over. These pond rats are directly responsible for creating wetlands. And these very wetlands are the home to a large portion of the wildlife in a region. Within 50 years after the introduction of beavers in the Acadia National Park, the wetland area doubled. So, these beavers don't just live their own life, but you can call them a philanthropist. Sure, they don't have money to donate, but contributing to the environment and ecosystem isn't any less of a donation. For instance, salmon are a huge beaver fan. They are grateful to these rats for their life. But why? Since beavers create cool predator-less water ponds and canals, salmon prefer these spots. The fish can rest and feed in the fresh water, and also can traverse through the beaver dams because of small holes in them. You see, salmon are indecisive in nature. They live a part of their lives in the sea and part of it in the rivers. Beaver dams allow these fish easy access inland, but the man-made dams, on the other hand, are impenetrable. Beavers have become such a huge influencer. Even scientists are building artificial beaver dams in California and Oregon to improve the salmon population. But things haven't always been so sunny for the North American beaver population. Before the 1600s, an estimated 250 million beavers called the region home. But soon after that, people began trapping these rodents for their fur. Millions of these rodents' pelts were shipped off to Europe, where the pelts were used to make fashionable hats. This torture towards the beavers went too far, but it finally came to an end during the 20th century. But why this sudden change of heart? Well, the beaver hats went out of fashion. I mean, have you seen those hideous things? I still don't know why anyone would want to wear hats like those. But then, those were strange times. Another reason why hunting beaver had to be stopped was because scientists realized how important beavers are for the ecosystem. So, when their numbers dwindled significantly, people started working on stopping beaver hunting. But even after all the social work, beavers still have a poor reputation among farmers. Really? But why? Well, that could be because beaver-made dams can lead to flooding local agricultural fields. But even after the flood, people are praising beavers. Because while crops are affected locally with the flood, these dams have been proven to actually reduce widespread flooding. I just don't get it. Why do humans hate us? It seems like everything we do ultimately helps them and the planet.
They're blind, son. They're so focused on today that they miss the bigger picture, the future.
And that's somewhat true. We have judged the beavers unfairly. Their activities not only do good to them, but also to many other animals and birds. For instance, species such as the wood ducks prefer to breed in beaver territory, simply because these areas are usually safer from dangerous predators. Trumpeter swans, on the other hand, make their nests on top of the luxurious beaver lodges. There's perhaps no other single animal species in the world that can build or modify an entire ecosystem as efficiently as a beaver. I'm sure none of them will ever agree to an interview, nor are they on social media trying to gather a following. All they want is to be left alone. Can we do this much for them in exchange for building America? What interesting facts do you know about beavers? Tell me in the comments of this video. As always, if you felt entertained by this small presentation, please drop a like and share the video with others. If you are a new viewer, consider subscribing for more content like this. Click on the bell icon and turn on all notifications to avoid missing out when a new video arrives. Until the next time, take care and enjoy. Bye!